Chapter 3. Once we started playing cards together, Private Hollister and I fit right in with each other. If one of us had been a lot better than the other, we probably wouldn't have become friends. But we were evenly matched, and even better than that, we were both good. It made us admire one another. It made us easy with each other. How many brothers and sisters do you have? I asked one morning as Private Hollister was dealing cards for a game of rummy. We didn't know it yet, but this would become our game for the summer. Once we got started playing gin, it never occurred to us to play anything else. 7. All of us bees, too, he said, flipping the cards into neat piles. Your bees? Like the letter B, he explained. Bucky, Brenda, Betsy, Burl, Barney, Barbara, Bitsy, and Bob. You've got a Bitsy and a Betsy? Something wrong with that? I picked up my cards and started sorting them out. No. It just seemed like it could get confusing, having two people with names that are so close together. Nah, Private Hollister said, fanning out his cards and studying them. Bitsy's about 6 foot tall, and Betsy's a tiny thing. You could never mistake them for one another. I couldn't believe how bad my hand was. The closest I had to anything was a pair of twos. No runs, no three of a kind. It was all deadwood. I needed to make some good draws, and fast. I leaned forward and took a card from the top of the deck. So, who's your parents' favorite out of all the kids? I asked, happy to see that I'd picked up the 2 of clubs. I discarded an ace. My dad don't have a favorite, Private Hollister said, picking up my discard. He's pretty much lost interest in all of us. But I'm my mom's favorite, no doubt about it. Who do you think taught me how to play cards? It's because I stayed home all the time from school, acting like I was sick. I didn't much like school. Why not? Private Hollister discarded. Because school didn't much like me. Mom taught me cards when I stayed home, and I got so good she didn't mind me skipping. My brother's always been the Colonel's favorite, I said. But it's not like the Colonel doesn't like me, too. He does. He and TJ just have a special bond together. That's how it is with fathers and sons, Private Hollister said. Well, not with me and my dad, but I've seen a lot of other families. Usually it has to do with sports. I nodded. Football, even though I like football too. Yeah, but you're a girl. No father dreams of seeing his daughter play in the NFL. Maybe you should try out for cheerleading. I put down my cards. Do I look like the cheerleading type to you? Private Hollister studied me for a minute. You might not be peppy enough, that's true. But you'll be cute in a couple years. I can tell. Bitsy was plain as day until she was 14, and then look out, buddy. That girl blossomed like a sunflower. Hell's bells, I said. I don't want to be a stupid cheerleader. You know, I think it's against the rules to cuss in here, Private Hollister said. He checked his cards again, then knocked, signaling that he was ready to count points. Anyway, you're too young to cuss. I'll be 13 in December, I told him for what had to be the 100th time that week. 13 is old enough for cussing. So's 12, for that matter. For boys, maybe. Not for girls. Girls ain't supposed to cuss at all. That's a stupid rule. Either everybody cusses or nobody cusses. Well, no cussing when we've got customers. That's a fair rule. I suppose. I laid down my hand and counted the points from my unmatched cards. I'd managed to come back from a lousy deal, but that wasn't enough to beat Private Hollister. Let's keep track of our games. You want to? Private Hollister asked. He pulled a pen from his uniform pocket. That's what me and my mom do at home. Just so you know who has bragging rights at the end of the day. Then he looked at me and grinned. You know, I think you're working out here all right. I wasn't so sure you would at first. What do you mean? You didn't think I'd work out? I asked, indignant. Private Hollister took a second to write down our scores. Well, A, for one thing, you're a girl, and a lot of girls wouldn't handle being around GIs all the time without getting all silly and giggly and just acting dumb about it. Turned out, you're not that way, but I didn't know it at the time. And B, you seemed kind of young. I think it's because you're short or something. Or maybe that's the way you were dressed. Of course, that was before I knew you were a card shark. My first day of work, I'd shown up in a white blouse, a pair of pressed Bermuda shorts, and penny loafers. No socks. It wasn't the first time I'd been to the rec center, but it was the neatest I'd ever dressed for a visit. On a gray winter Sunday afternoons, the Colonel, TJ, and I would play pool on the pockmarked, cigarette-scarred green tables, and I'd wear a sweatshirt and old jeans, happy to be shed of my church clothes for the day. The Colonel was an excellent pool player, and he was teaching me and TJ all of his tricks. My mother did not like this one bit. She thought it was inappropriate for a girl my age, on the very edge of womanhood, to play pool and spend Saturday afternoons in a smoke-filled room alongside young soldiers who were not above using colorful language if the situation called for it. The colonel, on the other hand, thought any girl worth her salt should be able to shoot a game of 8 ball. So, when he told me that if I didn't get over the fact that my two best friends had moved away within 2 weeks of each other, both of their families reassigned overseas, and if I didn't quit moping around on the living room couch eating Snickers bars and reading old comic books, he'd get me a job peeling tomatoes at the mess hall, I suggested that I could volunteer at the rec center instead. I told him it would give me the opportunity to serve soldiers, which I knew he'd like, since one of his favorite sayings was, "Service to others is the highest calling." I'd never been to the rec center on a weekday morning, and I'd been surprised when no crack of pool balls or ringing ping ball machines greeted me on my first day of work. The only sound in the whole place was the insect whir of a ceiling fan and the soft flipping of pages. A soldier sat slouched behind the checkout desk, his face hidden behind a Superman comic book. When he looked up and saw me, he shoved the comic book into a drawer and came to attention. "I'm the new volunteer," I said, hoping the tone of my voice would let him know that comic book reading was fine by me, although I was not a DC Comics fan myself, preferring the Marvel heroes as a general rule. "Are you the person I need to talk to?" He reddened a little and stood. "Private Hollister, miss," he said. "Private First Class Bucky Hollister. My CO told me what your name was, but now I don't rightly remember." I stuck out my hand. "Jamie Dexter. I'm very excited to be working here." Private Hollister looked at my hand as though I had just offered him a live trout to do the tango with. His face got even redder, and so did his ears, which stuck out about a mile in either direction. He couldn't have been a day over 19. "Well, if you want to know the truth," he said, backing away a few steps like he was going to do whatever it took to avoid shaking my hands, "there is not a whole lot to do here in the mornings. Most guys don't show up until lunchtime." "Maybe you should serve donuts in the morning," I said, and an idea appealed to me as soon as I came up with it. "People will show up early if there are donuts around." "I don't know about that, miss," Private Hollister said. "I'd have to check with my CO." After we'd been playing cards together a week or so, Private Hollister admitted he'd never checked anything with his CO. "But if you're still looking for a project, I thought of something you could do," he said to me after he'd written down the scores for our final hand in the notebook. "You know anything about developing film?" "Not really," I told him. TJ's the photographer in our family. He took pictures for the school paper when it wasn't football season. He printed all the pictures himself. In fact, most of TJ's allowance and his tips from bagging groceries at the commissary went to film, camera equipment, and photography magazines. Most of my allowances went to Archie comics, Snickers bars, and overdue library book finds. "You interested in learning something? Because I've got all these guys who come in here with questions about how to develop their film in the dark room back there," Private Hollister said, nodding towards the hallway that led to the rec center's arts and crafts area. "Personally, I don't know a thing about it. Might be good if somebody who worked here did." "I'd rather play cards," I told him. "I'm not really all that interested in photography." But then I got TJ's first package, and suddenly I was very interested.